You gotta turn it right, 12:30 we can handle, right? For 1 week. We should be good with that, right? Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Test.
Had a good time with Leo and Lizette.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I filled in for Georgine on Monday.
Nice.
So we interviewed about this week's events. Good times.
All right. That is wonderful.
Looks like you're in your zone, so I'm gonna stay out of your
No.
way.
It's all good. You can chat. I just started the live stream so that we have that
Oh, perfect.
buffering ahead. So
Okay.
the world can hear what we're saying, by the way. We are doing good.
I better be good then.
Yes. I just started the live stream. So that, yeah.
Probably, this is camera flash.
Oh.
That was very nice. Thanks for being here, right?
Yeah, we're getting everybody upstairs right now.
Thanks.
And is that still a little better height
How
for
you
you?
doing? Good, yourself? Good, good, good.
Is this still a better height for you?
Perfect, yeah, I think.
All right,
Maybe they both, maybe I'll put my feet on one.
there you go.
Have you got a pointer? That one don't work.
Oh, to point at the screen, these things don't do very well at pointing at screens, so.
You know, they do have some that do though.
Oh, they do? Okay. Yeah, the green ones are supposed to work on the screens, but I don't know what, if you need.
You gotta
if
get
they
a
have
bigger
some-
screen.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe it'll work then.
Yeah, have to try that out.
Yeah. Are you gonna introduce me?
Yes, I will.
Okay. I'm gonna go over here.
All right.
You gonna sit in the back row?
I have a weak bladder,
Oh, that's okay.
so,
I was kind of kidding you.
yeah,
You're pretty out.
it sure is.
Lovely, just lovely out here. At the ocean, you live up here?
No, I live in Los Angeles.
Oh, do you?
It's,
Where?
Lawndale, California.
Where? What?
Lawndale?
Lawndale.
Yeah.
I used to live in Torrance.
Oh, okay.
I had a mobile gas station on the corner of 100
Johan.
and, what's your name?
Johan.
Hi, Gilmore. Hi, Bob.
Nice to meet you.
On the corner of 183rd and Crenshaw.
Okay.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing, because I went to North High School.
Yeah, I was raised, I was born in Portland, Oregon. My dad had a job there. But he got another job down in LA and I was raised all over. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, what do you do? You got-
Me? I have my own, like catering.
Catering?
Yes, slash music.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good business.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm in business, I use catering a lot, and
Okay.
good caterers are really valuable. Yeah.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how are
Where, are you from this area?
you? No, I'm from North Idaho.
Oh, Idaho, yeah.
Yeah.
Where you from?
Oh, from here.
You are?
Yeah.
I was one of Irish students back in.
You're what?
I was one of Irish students back in 2016.
I'm sorry. I know there's mess. I can't talk with one on, so, and I've had all my shots and I'm 3 weeks into the last shot, so I really shouldn't be any kind of
I was one of Irish students back in 2016 with Morgan and.
You said the virus?
Ira.
Ira. Oh, you're with Ira?
Yeah, I was one of Irish students back in 2016.
Oh,
Yeah.
great, great. Well, I kind of been kicking around with him now for a few years. Yeah, he was originally over, it was Canby area.
Yeah, he was in,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. First time I gave a talk was over there.
yeah.
Yeah. Talk, part of me know what to talk, because I'm gonna get up and talk, see, and then, and they were starting asking questions down there at lunchtime. And I said, well, wait a minute, I'm gonna answer that. Yeah,
Whole conversation upstairs and a small conversation down here.
yeah. There we go.
Are you going to give me your testimony?
Huh?
Are you giving your testimony to this?
A testimony.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Is that your pen? You sit back with this.
And,
Roll it up there.
thank you.
You can sit back here.
Yeah.
You sit wherever you want.
You can if you want, it's okay.
Yes, sit right.
Oh, yeah. We can have them.
Without a microphone, it's all right. Okay. Okay, well, you-
So Jimmy, you're still providing time here in the county?
Yeah.
Okay.
I retired from the
Would you like any coffee or tea or anything like that?
I talked to, I know I John. Our next session. We're still here.
Bob, how you doing?
This is my wife, Lizette. She's always been a huge fan, and the first time she met you,
Oh.
Use a lot
You wanna run your own clicker?
Yeah. What, you gonna do?
If you want me to, I can try to follow along.
You don't have.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, it's casual enough. Oh, yeah. Good.
All right. Well, Chef Tyler, thank you for lunch and all the students that helped with that. Very, very nicely done. That hit the spot. And so speaking of people that I look up to in life, so this is one of my favorite weeks of the year because I get to see all of them. So Chef Jim and his godly influence and his amazing baking, Graham, who we saw on the screen yesterday, and Bob is another one of those. Just the heart for the Lord and for service and for hospitality, of actually loving people. And I don't want to get into your story, but it is so inspiring to me on a very personal level. So thank you for speaking. He has come and spoken with the students every single year, and those potential students in the room, that's where these students went off to have a private time to be able to encourage each other. And it was a huge inspiration to them and to hopefully you next year. But at that, Bob, the floor is yours.
No, thanks. Wow. Gee, he's right. I have been here every year. Thank you. We discovered this wonderful organization when you were, over in Canby, in the Canby area.
Yes, that's right. You spoke at I believe it was our very first conference, and this is our 11th conference.
Right, right. I've had a wonderful life. I'm standing before you today at 92.
Wow.
And and part of the reason that I feel that I've lived this long is because I have always had so much to do and never get it done. It's just wonderful. And down through the years, I've been blessed with a wonderful wife. My wife's name is Charlie. The reason her name is Charlie, because the firstborn in her English family was always Charles. So as far back as I could go to 1250, why the firstborn was Charles, except she was a girl. So they tacked the name Charles on her anyway. So we called her Charlie. And when I met her, she was working at the same place I was. And I just had to meet this girl that they were calling Chuck, or Chaws. And I think it was the first, maybe the second time I took her home to meet my folks. My dad said to me privately, if you don't marry that girl, I'm going to divorce your mother and marry her myself. So it's nice to have a vote of confidence. She was lovely. My dad was lovely. I was very blessed to have people around me that cared about me and whatnot. I had an incredible experience with the Lord. I was asked if I had a testimony, and I do, but I'm not going to take the time. But we all have things about ourselves that we don't like at all, and we know we need to change them. And that's a great place to turn to the Lord for help, or maybe just to get the job done. I smoked because I joined the Army, and when you joined the Army, everybody expected you to smoke, and so the next thing I know, I'm an addicted smoker. And I tried and tried and tried to quit smoking. My wife wanted me to quit smoking. I had ideas in my mind of studying the Bible and being a minister, but I knew I couldn't do that with a cigarette hanging out of my mouth. That would be impossible. Maybe I could, I don't know. Maybe I should have tried that. I didn't.
I could foresee some interesting nicknames going on.
Yes, yes. And that's the starting point of my walk with the Lord, in the sense that I knew I couldn't do it myself, and I knew I had to have help. And my wife brought to me her Bible and her convictions, and through her and through a wonderful group of people that we were associated with, I came to know the Lord and quit smoking. I don't think I quit smoking. I think the Lord quit smoking. I don't mean he smoked, I mean I smoked. So to become surrounded with things that were godly was one of the first things that struck me in my life. Whole grain foods, godly grains. I call them godly grains. And you guys are going to be cooking for people, and you're going to be looking around for stuff, and you're going to look around for your own health. And I believe that godly grains and whole grain foods for every meal of the day are very, very important. And I'm going to focus on that. Let's see, this thing works like this, right?
That's the left button.
Supposed
Right
to.
one.
What did I do wrong?
This one that's all worn off.
Oh, the one that's worn off.
Yeah.
There. Bob's Red Mill. We make the healthiest food in the world. Why can I say that? Because I really don't make it. Farmers grow it, and they harvest it, and we buy it from farmers. We have some of the farm co-ops, family co-ops up in Montana that we've been buying our hard red spring wheat from since we started, 1972. So we're coming up on a lot of years there. Well, I think we now are the leading brand in healthy natural. We're all over the world. It's just been wonderful. As we go along, I'll share with you a few of the things that have happened. This is a wonderful display, just to show you what happens when the store managers and their wives and the customers keep talking up Bob's Red Mill, wanting more of it. And this is in New York City, and I had an opportunity to set this some years ago. And I'm just so pleased that we do offer the most diverse array of natural whole grain foods for every meal of the day. I don't really want this to sound so much like a sales talk to you, because I know you can see my stuff in the stores, and it's been a pleasure. But we do these things, and we came about them in a most interesting way. I make a living grinding whole grains with ancient technology using stone mills. There's 3 stone mills up there, maybe 4 when we count the bottom, the ladies down at the bottom. And I think that scripture, the Bible is just filled with what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, and how you should eat it. And I think it's wonderful, and I've taken it up as a kind of a a way of life. No man shall take the lower or the upper millstone in pledge, for he takes one's living in pledge. I read that and thought over that for the longest time. Why did the Lord say this? Moses received that law from God on the mount and gave it to the children of Israel. Why would he tell them to not give their millstones as a surety on a loan?
It's their livelihood,
Well, let's say you didn't pay your payments.
right?
They came and got your millstones. What are you going to eat? So it shows a dependency on whole grains in every family, in every household. There's a lot more on this. I just kind of touched the end of the pin here on this kind of thing. I think that was, it just, when it finally struck me, it just what it meant. You were dependent on others if you didn't have a millstone. Every household, they carried them with them. We know they're all over the place. They're in museums everywhere you go. They're in museums all over the world. And the children of Israel, each family group had their own millstones. And the Lord warned them, don't put this up with the bankers, because if you don't pay your bill, you'll have to depend on your neighbor or your government. Pray tell, we all depend on the government for everything now. And so it's better if you keep your millstones out of debt. Remember that. You guys that are going to cook the rest of your life, don't let the bankers have your spatulas and your mixers and stuff. That's the way you make your living. I'm just trying to be funny. Anyhow. So I think these millstones are very fascinating because these were stones, just stones. They weren't just any stone that you picked up. It's so interesting after thousands of years of stones that all of civilization has used stones to grind their grains with, that there are pockets of particular kinds of stones, quartz material, and there's a particularly outstanding outcropping of millstone material in La Ferté, about 40 miles east of Paris. And the best stones, the Romans used them. I use them today. And whenever they could use these, they kept their sharpness, whatnot. So millstones were a really important part of life. The only reason it was an important part of life is because grains were a real important part of their life. And grinding grains and baking and making bread and making cereals was a very important part of life, a big part of life. And as you can see, they're grinding the grain there. This one in the center is kind of interesting. I have another picture of that in situ. That's an Egyptian stone. And they took a stone and they cut it so it had grooves in it. And then they made this little hopper and put the grain in there. And as they run it back and forth, it would feed the grain down and grind it into flour. So pretty cool. That was 10,000 years ago. And the one on the left, I have another picture of that, is a picture of a millstone in Pompeii. Anybody here been to Pompeii? Oh, good. You have been to Pompeii. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was awesome.
I did too. You know what I did when I went to Pompeii? I had my wife with me the first time, and we went to the tour. And then the next day, my wife wanted to stay in the hotel room and read. So I ran over and I got up. I was one of the first ones through, and I ducked out of the group and went into Pompeii ways. So I was all by myself so that I could spend a half a day, which I did, a half a day walking around, and I could open doors, looking things and see things. It was so cool. But these mills just fascinated me. I've got a picture of me with them. They had about 6 businesses. They had the mills, they had bakeries, they had ovens, was cool. Why don't some of you do that? In America, not Pompeii. I think Vesuvius is still wanting to blow up, so be careful if you go back over there. Okay. Well, there I am. Hot dog. I love this picture. Look at this. They had 3, 4. There's a small one. They didn't fool around. They had all the grains they needed. They grew wheat. They grew barley. At this time, Egypt was the breadbasket of Rome. And they drug their grains across the Mediterranean. But look at this. Isn't that cool? This is a hopper. It's broke, but it's a hopper. You put grain in there, and then there's a stick that sticks up and holds this up so it floats. And then there's a rod that goes in here, and they would hook it to a donkey, and the donkey would walk around like this and keep the stone going. And they would grind flour, and it would come down on this platform, and then they'd scoop it up. And then they could bake bread with these lovely ovens. These ovens were great because they built a big fire in them and let them get hot. Then they scraped the fire out and baked the bread without direct heat. Well, plenty of heat, but they really were cool. Really cool stuff. Look at all the ideas I'm giving you guys. Yeah. Here's my stones. They're just as pretty. These are quarried near Paris, France, as I said. We didn't always use these, but once we got going and we couldn't look back, we were so busy and so many people wanted our products. This is a skjold. That's the name skjold. It means shield, like a cross. That's what that means. And they're in Denmark, Sæby, Denmark. And I found out through a second party that they were making these lovely mills over there. And I flew over, and that was really the incredible beginning of Bob's Red Mill as far as just being able to go and do what I wanted because I could get all of these I wanted. They send trucks down from Denmark down into Paris or into France and across, and then they cut these millstones and take them back on the back of flatbed trucks. I was privileged enough to see one pull in. And from those stones, they form these. It's just delightful because it's so simple. So utterly simple. And they do such a beautiful job. Sorry, I can't have one right here. But I have, for 50 years, I've marveled at what these folks knew for all the time people have been doing this on the world. Anyway, we love those. 22 of those mills run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now understand, we took the cover, here's the cover on them, and we took this cover off, but the stones don't touch. There's a space between them. And that space is where all the work is done. And it keeps the grain, those grooves, and it keeps the grain cool. They do a beautiful job. And they grind the bran and the germ and the endosperm all together. They do as well. They're just nice. I love them. I love them. I love them. We're able to manufacture all these wonderful products. And how did we start? That's just a few of my stuff. I have about 400. I could fill 400 different bags. Well, I told you at lunch today to be sure and make notes. Write yourself notes. Make lists. I wanted to be in business. And I had a wonderful gas station business. I had a gas station. Where's my guy?
Right.
There you are. You're hiding from me. He lives right close to where my station is, 183rd Crenshaw in Torrance. Isn't that lovely? That was a brand new station. I was 25 years old. I had to be in business for myself. I really did want to be in business. And they had signs up on streets that vacant lots and things like that. Soon, a new mobile gas station, new Chevron station, whatnot. And I inquired, and if I sold my house, my lovely home, my GI house, if I sold my house, I could get enough money to buy the things I needed to buy to get this gas station, and I did. Boy, my poor wife. But she was very sweet about it, stayed with me. Anyway, well, we had a wonderful run at it in Torrance. It was a good business, lots of traffic up and down Crenshaw, still is. And we did well. But I wanted to get out of LA because it was so smoggy. And I had this little thing in my head about going off somewhere and studying the Bible. I had to know more about the Lord. It was just driving me crazy. Driving me crazy because I couldn't seem to put my fingers on it. My wife was supplying me with some good books, concordances, things, study books that I could do myself. Anyway, so I bought a station up in the High Sierras, Mammoth Lakes. Ever been up there? You ever been up to Mammoth Lakes?
Yep.
Good skiing, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have any skiing the year I was there. This picture's a fake. We went up, and this is my station. There's a nice big shop right over here. That's my tow truck under that big bump. We went for 9 months and not any snow.
Oh, no.
No snow. We got a chair. I got a chair, and I set it out in the middle of the highway and sat out there and had my wife take a picture of me sitting out there in the middle of the highway because there wasn't any traffic. It was the craziest year Mammoth Lakes had ever had. The restaurants closed. It was awful. I lost everything up there that year. It was incredible. 1959. Anyhow, when it finally snowed in January, after everybody was gone, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, all great times when the kids came up and skied and got flat tires and fell into snowbanks and needed being hauled out with my tow truck. We didn't have any snow, so we didn't have anyone there. Anyway, we scattered out of there and we found a 5-acre dairy goat farm. Can't seem to make that thing work. Oh, there it is. For 5 years, we had a dairy goat farm in Elk Grove. And I was managing a Firestone store. As you can see, automotive was kind of my thing. I wasn't good at baking bread. My wife was good at it, though. She bakes some swell bread. I think some of you'd have a time trying to keep up with it. Good bread she made. We had a little hand mill. We ground our own flour. It's pretty good stuff. We're all into this. So there's my 3 boys. They're old men now. We had dairy goats and cows and whatnot. It was a great time. And I studied the Bible. I spent a lot of time. As an entrepreneur at heart, the years on the farm were a low point business-wise. I continued to look for ways to be an entrepreneur again. You know, once you stick that something on your list, it's hard to get it off. We all talked about that at lunch today. I have always found inspiration in the scriptures. I began studying the Bible in earnest, and the first page told me what real food was, I think. And here's what it says. Then God said, this is the first page of the Bible now. Then God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit trees that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it was so. Grains. And now to man and his instructions. And God said to man, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed, to you it shall be for food. Now, there's other foods, and I know there is, but the most specific, straightforward, eat this. And you'll be healthy. And I thought that was a pretty cool statement. And I felt like the Lord said it to me. And I know my wife felt that he said it to her because we prayed about these things and we talked about them. Is this what we're supposed to eat? That's a vegetarian diet, isn't it? Yeah. Well, just fruits and vegetables and grains. We did not do this because elsewhere in the Bible, there are food laws and we followed those too. And I don't think it hurt us any to do that. I keep looking for some reason why I should be so old and still be able to do this. And I think this is part of it. And I think it can be part of it with you guys. You can take your own, believe your own way. Anyway, I think grains are so pretty, so beautiful, and so fruitful. Now, realizing that when it says a seed in itself, let's look at it. In order for any food to meet the criteria from the first page of the Bible, the seed or the germ must be intact, not separated from the kernel. So what do we do about white flour? we work hard at trying to get the bran away and the germ away. So that's just down to the white endosperm, and we call that food. It's not food. I don't care. It's just not. Sorry. It makes you feel bad to go to McDonald's and get a hamburger with a nice white bun. It's just simply not the nutrition you need to be healthy. It's not mine. It's not yours. It's not your kids. It's not your grandparents. When you take this stuff away from it, you take away the nutrients, the best part. This is considered to be the definition of a whole grain. The whole grain. There's the endosperm, the bran layer that keeps the moisture in, and the germ. That's alive. It's a living entity. If you dampen it for 3 days, it'll send a little sprout out. And that's what you need, a little sprout inside of you, which comes from eating whole grains. Science and research show that whole grains are an important part of what our bodies need for optimum health. I have books and books and books that have been researched and printed by some of the most wonderful and talented and intelligent people up at OHSU and whatnot. And I'm giving you some books over there that I think will be a blessing to you. You can all they're all signed and you can all have one. So before you don't get up and get them now. So what do we do with this? Well, here's what we do. A kernel of grain, a whole, is greater than the sum of the parts. There's the kernel, the endosperm, the bran, the germ. And if we separate them, we get about 2.5% germ, 14.5% bran, and 83% endosperm. That's just food. That's protein that the germ needs to grow, to plant, to reproduce itself. Wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Wonderful, wonderful. Gosh, I guess I've been working with them so much, they kind of got me mesmerized, you know. I can't keep my eye off of it. Now, here's where I'm going to separate from me, at least in our government. Our government has seen fit to call beans, beans, legumes, seeds, seeds, grains, and nuts. But now think about each one of these when they're in their growing form. They're all the same. I've done some experiments with a towel, damp towel, out on a table, damp towel. You take some of all this, put it in little rows like this, and set them there, and then lay a damp towel over the top and keep them that way for a few days. They'll all do the same thing. They'll all sprout a root, they'll all sprout a trunk to start reproducing themselves because they're all the same. They all do the same thing. If I take a bag of nuts and put seeds on it, I have to recall all my food because the government tells me my labeling was incorrect. So you have to make your own mind up that these four things, grains, beans, nuts, and seeds, are all the same thing, and you should eat them all. You should really eat them all. So don't take the bran and germ away and eat what's left, because that's where we're getting into all kinds of weight problems and health problems and all kinds of stuff. If you plant them, they will reproduce themselves, but they will only do that if they're whole. If you take something away, they're gone. So I'm trying to build a little story, maybe the same story that God would have built eons ago when he was putting these things together, maybe putting you together too. I don't know. I don't know that I feel quite that old, but sometimes I do. So, the beautiful whole grains, a complete food. Complex carbohydrates, vital protein, the necessary fiber, essential oils and nutrients from the germ. Wheat, rice, corn, buckwheat, flaxseed, oats, and a lot of other stuff. A lot of other stuff. Okay. I really believe this. I've really eaten this way, and I build a business around this. So it's a total commitment with me. But where did I get this information? I got it from my wife, but she got it from these lovely books. They were given to her by her grandmother. Then I always remember her grandmother. We'd go over to visit her with the kids. And her grandmother was always telling me what to do and what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And of course, I was smoking. And I'd say, well, hon, I'll go down in the car and have a cigarette and wait for you while you stay here with your grandmother and the kids. And I think I just about burned her grandmother out by doing those kind of things, because she was a nice lady, but she was always trying to shove this stuff down my throat. It was sure a lot better off when I quit smoking and when I started obeying and eating these things and feeling better and losing weight, all the things that go along with a good diet. So much easier. So anyway, so these books are wonderful. They're all from the 1950s. I have them all in my office. Let's Get Well, The Health Builders, Back to Eden, Let's Eat Right, Gaylord Hauser, 1950s. So people were poking around trying to figure out why we were having so many health problems, because that's all we had was white flour. All we had was degerminated corn. All we had was rice that had the bran taken away. All these wonderful grains that should be left alone were not being left alone. So there was a lot of battles going on. Through these books, we learned that where diet is concerned, okay, now, everybody sit up. I'm going to see it, make sure everybody's eyes are open. Okay, we're going to read this. Yeah. I'm watching you. Through these books, we learned that where diet is concerned, our personal preferences don't change the reality of what our bodies need for good health. And whole grains are a big part of this. Now, what did I just say? I like cookies. Listen, kids, make your mind up. You need to make part of your diet whole grains for the rest of your life. Find out how to make them work so you like them. Feed your families that way. Whole grains should be an important part of every. All kinds of parts inside you are crying for the parts of the whole grains that do their thing, that make you digest slower, that lower your cholesterol, that they just do wonderful things. And I just know this is true. And I showed you in the Bible, the first thing the Lord said was, okay, before we get too far along with this earth thing, here's what you need to eat, whole grains. Okay. We started eating a healthier diet, which included wholesome whole grains. Those boys and I, when we'd come in and mom would be baking bread, whole grain bread, real rich, lots of whole grains in it and stuff, whatnot. She'd bake like 4 loaves at a time. It was so good, so good. And I can remember, maybe should I tell this or should I not? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to tell it. Here we got this loaf of hot bread out of the oven. Cut it in half and take a cube of butter and stick it inside and put the top back on and then kind of roll it around. Oh, it's pretty good. I don't know whether it's good for me, but I'm sure we must have had organic butter, so. Anyway, it's pretty good. Don't do that every day now. Sorry. But those are such rich, healthy foods, as long as you don't get too much of them, but they are so good. So very good. Yeah. The diet of 100 years ago, that's only 8 years before I was born. Sounds funny saying this. Anyway, 8 years before I was born. The diet was very simple. It was limited variety of foods. We didn't have everything we have now from all over the world. It was more nutritious. If you have the bran and the germ and stuff, it's more nutritious. It goes inside you and it wanders around in there and does all kinds of great things.
Bob, this lady here is 100 years old.
I'm sorry?
This lady here is 100 years old.
Are you 100? Awesome. Well, congratulations.
She was always pushing the whole grains too.
That's wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. No added chemicals, they didn't even know what they were, and little or no processing. I can't say taking grain and putting it through a pair of stones and grinding it into flour. It's just really not much of a process. We don't change anything, just the shape of it. Now, the problems with our food today is very high fat content and hydrogenated fat. So now hydrogenated fat, so that's good stuff for you. So the fats start to turn rancid, and the manufacturers say, oh, what are we going to do? Woe is me. Our food is rotting on the shelves. So we take the oils and stuff, and we boil them in oil. We boil them. And we bring them up to a high temperature and put them under pressure and stick them together so they're not going to separate. They're not going to spoil. They last forever. And now you put them in your body. Now your poor body's got this oil, which you get off of French fries and a zillion other things that's got that stuff in it. Fried chicken is fried in deep fat oil. And you got all this stuff inside of you, and your body says, what in the world am I going to do with this? I can't digest it. It won't break down. So your body has a nice little way of depositing things around your body and shows up in things you don't like. So it can kind of get back to it and begin to break it down. And it has a heck of a time breaking down hydrogenated oils. So don't eat them. And of course, sugar, if we want to sell something, all we have to do, they have these little parties where they have about this many people and they're all around and they have all these goodies. You're going to be here for dessert. And we're going to make these little goodies. And so we pass them all out and we ask people what they think. How do you like it? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, well, that was all right. Well, what do you think? Well, that's okay. Okay, got some more. So then we secretly add more sugar to it and maybe a little salt. And we pass them out again. And then people say, oh, yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. So we get it up and then we say, okay, one more time. So now we just pour a lot of sugar in it, pour a lot of salt in it. We hand it back and the kids just love it. And the adults love it, even the 100-year-olds. They love it. Oh, that's just right. That's just right. But it isn't just right. So that's where, remember I told you? I'm going to show you. I want you, let's see. Through these books, we learned that where diet is concerned, our personal preferences don't change the reality of what our bodies need for good health. So just because you like it, it's not good for you. That doesn't mean that everything you like isn't good for you. Don't get me wrong. Right? That's not the case at all. But remember this, just because you like it doesn't mean it's good for you. And you need to train your kids the same way. Because they keep looking around for what's the sweetest. You watch the ads on TV for these cereal manufacturers. For goodness sake. They just, isn't that sweet? Isn't that good? Oh, yeah, I like that. That means it's good for you. It's not. It's not good for you. So, let's see, I got to move on. Well, when they make white flour, they use a setup like this. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you. Look at all the crazy things. Rollers and shakers and all that kind of stuff. They take this lovely grain and they cut it in a bunch of pieces and then they do it again and then they cut it again and then they run it across shakers and stuff. They're trying to get every bit of the bran and the germ out so that they can sell you the white flour. And the white flour isn't near as susceptible to insects and the bugs. They win everywhere. You lose everywhere. Anyway, I don't use that system. I use this system. One thing. We get 5, 6 truckloads of grain in. In fact, I got a movie of one coming in. And we put them across screens and put them in a hopper. And then we just run them through. Remember I showed you those mills? We run them through the mill. And they just make the nicest whole wheat flour, barley flour, corn flour, corn grit, anything you want. The best in the West. Really good. Easy, cool. Don't take anything out. We just leave it all in. So anyway, I've enjoyed doing this for over 50 years. And I've said many times, if I had my life to live over, I'd just go right back and start it again. It was just that good. My focus was twofold, the Word of God and business. Are they compatible and can I do both? And I discovered I could do both. And I've been sharing my multiple feelings about these things since my talk began. Here's where my life changed. I suppose it changed a lot when we went up in the mountains and we didn't get any snow and we lost all our money and we had to come back down again with our tail between our legs. We moved out on the farm and began reading the Bible and my wife began to bake better and we began doing a lot of things better than we were before. But here's a situation that caught me by surprise. I read a lot. I have books. I went to the local library and laying on the table was this John Goffey Mill by George Woodbury, just laid on the table. Someone had apparently pulled it out of the stacks, decided not to check it out, and laid it on the table. And I picked it up, and it had to catch my attention. My library find, it was an awesome inspiration. George Woodbury, an archaeologist, inherited a water-powered grist mill originally built by his great-great-great-grandfather 200 years earlier. He was out archaeology, digging around. But he got hurt, came back home to Woodbury, and decided he'd look up his old family farm. That's what this was, family mill. And this is the most delightful book. Once George had his mill up and running, he said, rich, whole grain flour poured from the spout into the weighty bag. I caught a handful of the rich whole meal. It was in a fine and lively state. That's what the old millers used to call the flour when it was just right. It was in a lively state. Kind of cool, actually. I don't use that. They do. Maybe I should get back to doing that. I thought to myself, here George was an archaeologist and he knew nothing about milling. Here Bob was a gas station attendant and he knew nothing about milling. If he could do it, I could too. You guys that are all young and getting ready to go out in your life, this is the kind of stuff that can impress you and make you better, make you accomplish the things you want to do, and some of the things you don't even know what you want to do yet. Well, it was only a time before I found an old mill. Didn't have any millstones. I found a mill that had millstones. This is over in Dufur, Oregon. Anybody know where Dufur is?
Yeah.
Ah, Dufur. It's over in the middle of the state. They had a saying, what does it see? Let's see, don't ask Dufur what Dufur can do for you, but ask Dufur what you can do for Dufur. I saw that in a store. I tried to remember that. It's a joke. There is a Dufur though. So we got these 100-year-old mills. I actually got three sets, and I still have them. And these are really millstones. They came around the Horn in 1870 and were put into this mill when they started it in 1870. And it was such a wonderful thing. Gosh, it was great. So there we are with that millstone running over in Portland. We were on just off of McLaughlin Boulevard in Milwaukee. I love that scripture. Take the millstones and grind meal, Isaiah 47:2. The Lord just stuck that in there for me. If I'm dragging along wondering where the next money's coming from, he tells me to take the millstones and grind meal. So don't forget that now. Never know. Anyway, it was lovely. Lovely. That's that stone, that Egyptian stone I was showing you about. You see how they did it? This top thing has a hopper and he puts a grain in there and rubs it back and forth and it makes flour. So it's all kind of the same thing. They didn't have electric motors back then. But I did have a mill and I was real proud of it. Bob's Red Mill first location in Oregon was in 1978, Rothy Road, Milwaukee, just off of McLaughlin Boulevard. And we put those lovely mills in there, and I painted that building red myself. You do a lot of things. You think you're going to be a cook, and you might be out changing tires on your truck. You never know. Anyhow, be ready to do what you have to do. Okay. This was a wonderful success. There's our store. Look at our store. Isn't it cool? All those, we ground everything there, put them in little bags. That's my lovely wife, Charlie. I had a posing there. This whole building was just a delight. Absolute delight. I loved it. We had the media people out there all the time and asking me questions, and it was wonderful. That place was busy all the time. Old wood floors, creaked when you walked on them. Everything you could want. I had product in the stores, Safeway, Fred Meyer, bulk bins. That's John,
Sheridan Produce?
Who?
Sheridan Produce?
no, that wasn't Sheridan. It could have been. Sheridan still has it. John Zupan.
Oh,
Yeah.
Zupan's.
That was his place. He wanted me to put them on. They came to me sometimes. It's just wonderful. People will come to you if you do, do real nice things. Use your imagination, make things work. Keep thinking. Don't forget your list though. Write it on a list. And now, all of you, success creates responsibility. It just does. You can't get away from it. Success creates responsibility. If I were my employees, would I work for me? Now comes a complete reversal of all this other stuff. You're worrying about grains and worrying about how to grind it, and worrying about selling it. But the biggest part of all is your people. I mean, God puts you down on this earth, and we're all here. And if we're going to do something, if we're going to create something that's successful, we absolutely must accept the responsibility that goes with it, all of you. I hope all of you go into business, and I hope all of you are successful. But if you all are, you'll make the world so much better. So much better. Seems so funny, but 12 people. We did a lot of work. My responsibility was to create sustainability and permanence in my business with my employees. I have there's 3 of those people that are there on the steps are still with me today, 40 years later, through wages, benefits, and profit sharing. And then, of course, 401k, retirement benefits. We had those. This is very important. A crowning scripture. All of you know that. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. There's a lot being said there. We don't know what to do with the law, do we? Moses gave the law to Israel, and Israel started out and didn't know what to do with it, broke it all the time. The country fell apart. And Jesus ties in the obedience of the divine law with doing unto others. It's good to dwell on these things in the night as you're driving along. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay. So I tried. I had to pay an adequate and competitive wage. I had to check out on it. I had to have people help me determine what my wage should be. I didn't just let it go. If I can get somebody for 10 cents an hour, I'll get them. I didn't do that. I had to have medical and hospitalization. We all know we need that stuff today. So what do you do with the growing profits from a successful business? Buy a big car, buy a big house, travel around the world, fly in airplanes, spend it. Wait. I've done all those things. But first, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Take it serious. Believe in it. Act on it. So important. So important. I didn't do this.
I love it.
I promise.
So I'm
Well, this is a 1931 Model A. I paid $10,000 for it. I did have it. I love old cars. But I didn't do this. I started profit sharing in the mid-'80s. My goal when profit levels warranted it was to share a portion of those profits, sometimes small, with each employee monthly, if possible. Sharing a portion of the company's profits every month for the past 30 years, you guys. And I'm not kidding you, it's not a little tiny piece of money. It's big. It's big. This is my personal take on the golden rule. If you work for me, I owe you this. This is my promise to the Lord. So now my employees are having a piece of the pie. I had the whole piece. You know, if you own the business, the whole piece is yours, isn't it? An awful lot of people think that way. But if you keep threshing over in your mind to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that Jesus said, if you just keep threshing out, you can write books about it. Your responsibility, how well it works. You know, think of this, things like some of the big business guys that had coal mines, and they hired people, and when they couldn't work, they just tossed them out, and they got more, and they kept bringing them in and stuff. And they had people working for nothing. And a lot of that's been going on. How could you justify that with the scripture? You couldn't. But they said, well, business is one thing and the Lord is another, but that's not true. It's no more true than taking the nutrients out of your food and thinking that now your body's still going to be healthy. You have to do things. You have to do things. Act on things. The great and mighty God, our Creator, has given us some things to live by. And I've been able to learn a few things, and it does work. I don't have any turnover. So my employees stayed with me. I gave them proper pay. I worked at that now. I know I gave them proper pay. Good benefits in retirement and sharing of profits. And I had happy and permanent employees. And I still have not changed a thing. Well, nuts. This was a really tough day. Really tough day, because here you've been listening to me blasting away, perfect Bob doing everything right, thinking he's big stuff. Now I have to deal with this. It isn't easy. You have to be ready to go both ways. Both ways. I got a call 1 o'clock in the morning. Bob, this is Sue. It was her brother worked for me. She was a fire department. She says, your mill's on fire. That's really tough. So I went down. I was a mile from it. I could see the fire burning when I got out of the back of backed out of my garage. And yeah, the mill burned down. I was 60 years old and the mill burned down. And we were really doing well. I mean, everybody was doing well. Everybody that was in contact with me, my people, my customers, Fred Meyer was just one of the best customers in the world. And we were doing well, but we weren't doing very well after this. So, and I'm not sure how you stack that into your things to do or not to do or run from or jump off a bridge from, but this is one of them.
That wasn't on your list?
That was not on my list, thank you. This was not on my list. Hey, Nance, let's put that along here. This was not on my list. Because I'm always talking about lists. These guys are already scratching their lists out because of this. So a few days later, we discovered that 3 of the mills had been saved, and because they were covered by weed. There's one, and there's one. Those were the 3 main mills we were using. What that meant is that I could stay in business if I could find a place to do it. Those 3 mills were pretty important to me. I didn't know there were mills, lots of mills, which I showed you in the beginning how many I have now. So it was tough. I stood there looking at this whole thing. I didn't have a place. I had a lot of customers, but I didn't know, what should I do? How should I start? Had a lot of help. Got a guy by the name of Don Ossie, who was my real estate agent, still is today. And he went right to work trying to find me something that I could get the mills working. Let's get the mills going. We'll put them in this building or this building. People come out of the woodworks and help you, and you can expect that. You can expect that. Do unto others. They'll do back. So I put the sign up. Progress sometimes is just being there. I mean, if nothing in the room is going to move and you have to stay there all day, it seems kind of pointless to go, but just might as well not go at all. But I knew that even being there, wherever it was, whether I was looking for equipment, looking for another place to work out of, that just doing it, progress, sometimes is just being there. And I pinned that up on my dashboard of my car and put it on my phone so I wouldn't forget it. Get your butt in gear and go. You'll find something to do. Something will happen, and that becomes progress. That becomes progress. So what did we do? Well, we hit it lucky, found a lovely place to work out of. This is, any of you know where Dave's Killer Bread is and where his bakery is? That's his place. But it was mine first. That's 50,000 square feet. There's my tanks. The mill room was in this area right here. And there is those lovely mills. 1, 2, 3. Those 3 mills. And we got them all cleaned up, put the new wood on them, and they ran really well, and they did a fine job. That wasn't the end of the subject, and we had to keep working. But we got back in business and saved our business. We saved our Fred Meyer customers and our Safeway customers and those. And they were so, people can be so nice when they want to be. Maybe it's the influence of the Lord. I don't know. Some they can be so awful too when they want to be. We're not very nice to each other sometimes. We're kind of on a round of not being nice to each other right now. 1989, Bob's Red Mill found a new location. And for 19 years, we grew and began to expand our efforts around the world. Went to England, France, Canada, all of them. It was wonderful. There's our world headquarters since 2007. That's interesting because we need to get a picture of the other place. This is the tail end of what used to be United Grocers, which is over here, and we're moving into that now. As we speak, we're moving into that. We're not moving out of this, we're adding that. This is 325,000 square feet, and that's 410, so we're coming up to 800,000 square feet, close to. Wow. So the mills take a lot of space, and you got forklifts running all over. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I love whole grains. As I said before, we have 22 of these lovely mills running, and those old-fashioned mills that came out of the mill over in Duffer, and those are in our lobby. And when we gave tours, and we'll give tours again, I hope, you can come in and see them. They're lovely. They're just lovely. So now we have 22 mills running 24/7. We never shut these things off. It's great. We have 30 packaging lines, 19 of them gluten-free, and 11 of them are conventional. And they're a wonderful packaging line. High speed, 40 bags a minute, that kind of stuff. Because once we get it all ground and everything, then we just kind of halfway interested in just let's get it in a bag and get it out to you guys. So it's really great. So I love this. This is the wheat, this is the flour, and that's the wheat and the flour. And that is one of the most proud pictures because it's everything that I've been saying to you. Everything. Just that, right there. And I just think it's so, I got a couple more pictures and then you can go. There's another important thing. You gotta start, if you're gonna grow, you gotta start getting stuff. So we have a quality assurance lab, wonderful quality assurance lab. Megan, she's fully educated, graduate, everything for serial chemistry. So she knows how to help us stay on the straight and narrow path, which she does. And of course, we have government inspectors and different things like that. You just have to kind of live along with it. And this is our gluten-free test lab. Jan was 79 when that picture was taken. She's retired now, just a kid. How old were you when you retired?
Ellie?
How old were you when you retired?
60.
You got that? You had that many years of retirement. Congratulations.
Yeah, they're just as busy, but you're doing what you want.
Yes, you're right. Does any of this stuff I'm telling you make any sense?
I'm sorry.
Does anything he's telling you make sense?
Oh, of course.
Thank you. Bless you. Now we have a distribution center, which is now going across behind us. We're moving this. So it takes a lot of people and a lot of space to make this thing work. And then our store. Have any of you been in our store? Oh, goodness, lots of them. Good. I love it. It's not running like it should right now. We have a restaurant, and a nice retail store. But the pandemic has caused everything like that to kind of close down. So it's a big problem. But anyway, it's beautiful to look at. It's so lovely in the snow too. But that was my personal commitment. I wanted to do it, and I'm glad I did. It's really a pretty place.
Is the restaurant open now?
No, we're trying to get it whenever they release us, so we can do it. You know, we just didn't want to break laws. Bob's Red Mill buyers stay connected with our suppliers through on-site farm visits. Chia seeds come from Peru and quinoa. We visit these places. We go there, meet these people. The Williams brothers with me in the middle there. These guys are really characters. They're attorneys and have been all their life, but they own this 10,000 acres of farm over in Eastern Oregon. And they grow a lot of our organic wheat and corn. It's so fun to go over there and watch it being harvested. I have so many pictures. I could keep you here all night. And then there's the Philippines. We buy about half the production of this one farm all the time over in the Philippines, because a lot of the coconut is treated with chemicals and stuff to give it a longer shelf life, but we don't do that. So we've had a nice marketplace. So Bob's Red Mill today. That's how we look. Here's a little video. It's not very long. This is just a couple minutes. That's Megan. She meets the trucks, makes sure everything looks good, checks things out. I love this business. It's so fun. If it's supposed to be gluten-free, we have to test it all the way through the whole place. There's our lovely millstones. I have them turned one over so you can see it. There's the grain going in between the millstones. They're checking the grind on it. That's Nanny. She's from Germany. We met a soldier over there. Got married and came over here. There's some of our packaging department. That's lovely. I love all that stuff. We don't put that stuff in the bag by one scoop at a time. I used to do it that way. That's a mixer making a 7th grade cereal. And there's the cup maker. We have 2 of these. They're very popular. You just mix hot water with it and you got cereal. That's a flour, 5-pound line, whole wheat flour. 40 a minute. Wow. But you can't use them that fast. Oh, that's Lucy. Lucy runs 3 machines. She's over 3 machines. All that packaging and all is all automated. That's loading of customers' trucks for going around the world. That's Mike. Nice boy. He's filling orders.
Does it take a lot of work to keep up the millstones?
No. Well, about every 14 months, we take them apart, replace the bearings, and the wear is usually on the flat surface, and we deepen that a little bit. It's not hard. Piece of cake. Oh, that's good. One more picture. Yeah. Bob's Red Mill, the leading brand in healthy natural. Our products are whole grain, healthy and natural, best quality, full control. We source, lab test, mill, and we package our own products. And I'm very proud that we've taken years to put all this together. So make sure you got a long piece of paper if you're going to start a list. It's going to take a while. The ultimate challenge of any successful business. What should the owners do as they get older? How about taking a leap of faith into the unknown and transferring the ownership to the employees in the future? So how in the world are we going to do that? How are we going to give it to you? You're going to be the owners. I'm not. Well, Bob's Red Mill's ESOP, after 9-year intensive search for options, the partners and I chose an employee stock ownership plan, an ESOP, and signed the papers on February 15, 2010, my 81st birthday. That was 11 years ago. Wow. It was a great day. So each employee now enjoys profit sharing, and they also own the company. So it's as complete as we can make it. Very, very nice. It's a great system. It's a great system. There's our 200 members on my 81st birthday in 2010. We currently have 470 people on the ESOP. That's my car, one of my cars. I have 4 now. And my wife's sitting up with me. And that's Nancy on the very far right there. So we had a day. I love driving these cars. I've been blessed by God, enabling me to live a rich and fruitful life. The best part is sharing those blessings with my wonderful people who truly bring everything to reality. I have enjoyed leading over the manufacturing and selling of whole grain products throughout the world. Products that never offend like so much food does today. We truly believe our mission statement, which is whole grains for every meal of the day. Good food, start simple, keep it that way. That's me. Well done. Would I go too long?
We are good.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Don't forget your list now. I told them all at lunchtime, keep a list somewhere in your pocket.
Yep, for any questions?
Any questions?
Bob, were the arsonists ever convicted?
Can you take that down or off just a little bit? I just can't understand it. Okay.
Were the arsonists ever convicted?
Did I what?
The folks who set the arson fire,
Yeah.
were they ever convicted?
I don't know. They were convicted for drug problems. It's, you guys, when you get into a tight spot and something burns up, I mean, sometimes you just look at it all and just leave it and walk off and do something else. You're better off.
Yeah.
I'm not, it was, I don't know why I never hated her. I couldn't get myself to hate her. Maybe I learned something by it. I don't know. Watch out this stuff. Just be careful. One thing I did want to say, something that really hung in my craw for years. When our country first started, or at least in the last 100 years or so, when we brought people over here and we put them to work, and when they got tired of working or they got hurt, why our business people would push them out and bring more in. There was the line waiting. And that has just bumped me all my life. I can't, I think, gee, I wish I could go back and do that again. I wish I could go see what I could do if I had a chance. And those people who came here and were treated like we're treating ours and many other companies. This ESOP thing is not new now. I'm not trying to pass on to you that I'm the only one that has this. This is a good program. It's a federal program. And it's one of the things from a business standpoint that they've helped business be better. So I'm all for it. But if we had just treated people a little differently, we might have a lot better world to live in. So you're just a little part of it. And if you can make that your part a little better, that's a good thing to do too. So keep thinking about how maybe you'll get a chance to do it again. So if you're going to get a chance to do it again, be sure what you're doing right now is what you like to do. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
If it became mandatory that you pay your employees $15 an hour, which is being thrown around at this time, would you still be able to stay in business and produce?
I won't have any problem because I have never paid minimum wage. I always have adjusted my business and had enough production that each one of the employees could produce enough that they could make like $20 an hour, and then they would be paid better. So that hasn't troubled me, the minimum
I'll think. I know.
Thank you. You know how rock, you know how rock and roll is, Bob, you know how rock and roll is, it's different. Is that rock and roll? Back in back. Yeah, sure it was. I didn't try that. I know you wouldn't. Oh, okay,
We're still in the same location.
Where are you? Where are you?
Oh, sure. We don't know where we're.
You don't go to where?